Spoilers episode number 11 starts right now. Welcome to the program. This is the Thor Love and Thunder spoiler cast. That means we're talking all spoilers for Thor 4. I'm your host, Brandon Davis, joined today by Jamie Drax.
Good morning.
Good morning. We got Aaron Perrine.
What's going on, guys?
We got Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
I want to compliment Jamie's morning eyes over there. That is. I woke up early after watching Thor to talk about Thor face, and I respect it. We appreciate our West Coasters for joining us.
Yes, I will only get up at 7:30 a.m. for you guys.
Oh, we love you for it. All right, everybody, Phase Zero community, go ahead, start dropping comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let us know what you thought of Thor Love and Thunder. Thank you to everybody in the community on Twitter for not dropping spoilers and respecting that everybody's going to see it on Friday. I know the rules are like, talk about it when it's in theaters, but like we're trying to be nice. We're trying not to ruin it for people. But now we're about to ruin it for people. So if you haven't watched Thor Love and Thunder, you have been warned. First of all, we got to start with reactions. Everybody knows what I thought. I've talked about it too much on the podcast so far. Jamie hasn't talked about it at all, so we're going to start there. Jamie Drax, what did you think of Thor 4?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's no Ragnarok. I'll definitely say that. But I enjoyed it very much. For me, Ragnarok's a full 5. I gave this one a 4. It definitely has some issues, but I had a fun time. And let me tell you, that first post-credit scene was the best reveal that I've ever had in my life. I literally screamed because I love that man. I have a lot of criticisms I'm going to share, but I have a lot of joys I'm going to share with you all today. But ultimately, I came out really enjoying it, and I will definitely be seeing it again at least one more time in theaters.
Hey, okay, so Jamie hated it. Jenna, you wrote your review on the site, but I want to give you a chance if you want to talk anything about spoilers and your reaction to go ahead and get those out there, whatever you want to say. Your thoughts on Thor 4.
I will say I am vindicated in the fact that Jamie also supposedly hated it, that I'm not the only one. Because on Wednesday, I was like, oh no, I'm the only hater. All of you are going to give it like an 11 out of 10, a more billion out of 10, and I'm going to be the one over here with like a 3.5. I still, having seen this second time, the parts that I love about it, I love so much. There is so much of this movie that is some of my favorite stuff in the entire MCU. The entire fight in the Shadow Realm is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The character design for Eternity, my jaw dropped when I first saw that. That is one of the coolest things ever. And it is like there's so much good in this movie, but then the problems are still so much more obvious. I feel like this movie needed to be at least another half an hour long. Almost every single subplot I feel like could have been improved by at least one more scene, and it would have made the moments like the screaming goats and all of the Korg jokes land a little bit better and balance a little bit better. But I still enjoyed so much of it. It's just I can't ignore that it has problems.
I'm in a very similar boat as you, except I liked it more. I love this movie so much. But I do share your criticisms, and I'll get to those after Aaron Perrine speaks, the wisest of us all.
Gather in, folks. We got ourselves a popcorn movie here. That's what I kind of feel like. It is a very, very July blockbuster movie. I think that in some ways that works to both its like benefit and its detriment, because in the screening I was in, people were they were having a great time, but I could see like about midway through, 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna actually really be divisive. And I could never have dreamed. Our own Jenna Anderson out there in the Rotten Tomatoes like, boo.
3.5 is not that bad.
Can out better. What's up?
Like a Waititi movie tour.
So I did enjoy it. I really think that my experience was like enhanced because we didn't know as much about this one going into it as we did about Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which I feel like I would like that to be my default experience going into these things from now on. If I could, that'd be great. Thank you, Kevin Feige, for doing whatever you did to the trailers so that they wouldn't tell us stuff beforehand. I found it really emotional. I liked that every single one of the Phase 4 films is a different genre, but still like an action movie. It's an action movie mixed with something else. And I never thought I'd see like an MCU rom-com action movie like in this blatantly at all. So I'm happy it's there. You're right. It's a little uneven in spots. It's a little shaggy. I could have dealt with more of weirdo Christian Bale that I could deal with a lot more with Christian Bale. Got an audible gasp when that part with the lizard thing out of Ariel sitting 2 feet next to me. She was like, "Oh my God!" Like, "Oh, this was poor kids." And the kids are a highlight too. Like, I'm so happy now. We all have a different like Miles Morales fan cast with the young man who plays Heimdall's son, Axel. Thank God. Finally, I don't have to hear Caleb McLaughlin's name. I love you, Caleb McLaughlin, but I get tired of hearing it over and over and over again. So I'm happy to sit here and talk to you guys about it. It's gonna be fun.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. I feel like we're with varying levels of how much we liked it or loved it. We all kind of share similar criticisms. I love the movie, and this is actually my favorite Thor movie. I really, really, really like Ragnarok, and I really, really like the first Thor movie. I'm one of those people who loves Shakespearean Thor. Like, I'm all for it. I think like King of Asgard, kind of like figuring out his place in the royal family Thor was a lot of fun, and I miss that Thor. But I also, it doesn't mean I don't like the current Thor. Like, I know, like, I kind of wish we could get both, or maybe like joke Thor became like a different character, like a different character played that role in the MCU, because I still want Shakespearean, tough, like wants to be king Thor. And those two definitely don't coexist. And there's like traits that they share and desires that they share. But overall, they're two very different characters. So that kind of feels like I'm mourning Shakespearean Thor. And I felt like I mourned that with Ragnarok, which is why I'm not as high on Ragnarok as some other people are. Maybe I just accepted that this Thor is hilarious and I'm really entertained watching him. So that's why I love Love and Thunder so much. That said, actually, I love Jane Foster Thor a lot. She was so cheesy and corny, but also but intentionally. And so like the action sequences with Jane, I thought were great. And also Natalie Portman got absolutely jacked, which I have so much respect for. I wish I could go back to the Junket and be like, which was your favorite muscle? Because like I go to the gym all the time and I have a favorite day and I like to look at myself in the mirror and there's specific muscles I like to look at. So I know everybody has that. And I love to hear like, was it the shoulders? Because they were popping. Was it the bicep? Was it the tricep? Like, what's going on, Natalie? Because you killed it in every way. I do wish Valkyrie had an arc and wasn't just kind of a supporting warrior. Like King Valkyrie was very cool and tough. And also we got to explore her trauma a bit, but like she just felt like she was there, but didn't actually get to like have a meaningful role. And I would like to have seen more from that. And the fake out deaths kind of pissed me off. That pisses me off in every movie. Like it almost got to episode 9 level of fake out deaths. So like, what are we doing? But and like it's weird because I have these criticisms which are so easy to spout out, but I just had so much fun watching the movie and the emotional payoff of sequences, like when Thor and Jane had their conversation on the boat, looking at the dolphins that mate in groups of 6. Respect to those dolphins. When she says, "I have cancer," like the emotional punch that lands there, it just takes the air out of you. At least it does for me. And I mean, I know that my life has been affected by cancer. Like I've watched my mom go through cancer, and I'm sure many people have. And like, I don't know if that's something you have to be able to relate to have that land for you. But that moment alone, like solidified for me. Like I love this relationship between them. The emotion of this is real. The stakes are real. It doesn't have to be world ending, which it was. But I didn't care about the world ending stakes. I cared about Jane and Thor. And I'm a character first person. That's why Lost is my favorite show ever. And I think that the emotion of this one landed really well. And I just had a blast watching it. But it is weirdly obvious to me that a few more scenes would have made this movie really just a 10 out of 10, for me at least. And instead it's like maybe a 9. I know I've ranked other movies pretty high and I get excited. Now I'm glad I've seen this 3 times. Maybe a 9's even a little high, but I just really loved it. I had a great time watching it. So we're going to talk about all the Easter eggs that we found in Thor Love and Thunder towards the end. I want to talk about some story points first. First of all, the goats, the biggest story point of all. No, we don't have to discuss the goats. Does anybody want to make a goat sound? Is it because I know I will, but is anybody else?
That's all you.
Yeah.
It's going to come when you don't expect it. All right.
That feels on brand because every time they screeched in the movie, it was like, I cannot hear any other dialogue that is happening. That scene with the Guardians was just like audio chaos in like the best possible way. It was like choices being made here.
Actually, let's start right there. Let's start with the Guardians because I was going to go to the Necrosword, but I want to start with the Guardians. For me, I'm not going to lie. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. It felt like the Guardians kind of missed a beat without James Gunn, or maybe I don't know if Taika doesn't handle the Guardians well, or if this was just so Thor focused that it overshadowed the Guardians. I fully understand Dave Bautista's frustration about Drax just kind of being a pushover, because the only thing he said in this movie was, "We are all gonna die." And it's like, let Drax actually destroy something for once in the MCU. Don't make him weak and getting his ass kicked. What do you think of the Guardians?
Yeah, I was disappointed in the use of the Guardians. Like they had some like fun little moments, but they weren't in the movie at all. I mean, they really just served as like a background painting. Even and like the one real dialogue scene was in the trailer. It was fun to see them, but it didn't feel. It really felt like they were just thrown in there, and I was like, well, whatever. But honestly, I was less disappointed in the lack of Guardians and more disappointed in the lack of Lady Sif. I was promised some Jamie Alexander, and I got diddly on that front, and I was pretty bummed about that. But still nice to see them. It's like, hey guys, I like all of you, and you're in my face. Could be worse.
The only part that felt like on brand was the speech that Star-Lord gave to Thor. Yeah. That felt like good writing for Star-Lord. But Jenna, sorry, go ahead.
No, because I think it's also that like when Thor went off with the Guardians at the end of Endgame, I think we expected like, oh cool, by the time we see them next, they're gonna have this like bond and they're gonna be this fun family. And then it's like the entire crux of their involvement in the movie is showing that Thor is like emotionally closed off and doesn't really want to hang out with them and is misunderstanding their social cues. And so it's like that also added to the fact that they're only in the movie that little amount, because it felt like even then I wanted to see them all hang out and be more chummy than they actually were.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important that we got that out of the way, because I feel like there is an expectation on the audience that all of those threads that spun out of Endgame and the end of it will be absolutely taken up by the directors and helmers and producers of these projects. And it's pretty clear they were like, oh, that would be fun. And Taika was like, I want to do my space pirate thing. I don't want to do that. So I feel for my Guardians fans. Although, Jamie, you did get one weird cameo that we didn't know about that I was like, oh, Jamie's happy.
Oh my God.
Okay. Like,
oh my God. Kat Dennings said she was not in this movie, and when she showed up, I like smacked Tony. I was like, she's here. I can't believe she's here. And it was like a sad scene, and it was short, but I didn't care. It was Darcy. I was so happy. That's the thing, like you were saying about like things we didn't know, little things like that, like not knowing she was in this movie was just a really fun little surprise. I got a smidge of Stellan. My boy Stellan Skarsgård was only in it for 10 seconds, but I was excited about it. And like, just let us have those surprises because they're really fun. I was so mad that we knew a year ago Melissa McCarthy was going to show up as Hela in the play, because my friend Annie was sitting next to me and I watched her because I knew, I'm like, Melissa McCarthy's about to pop up. I'm not going to get to enjoy the surprise. So I got to watch my friend enjoy the surprise. And it's like little things like that. Like, I loved the play, but it would have been so much better if I didn't know who was in it.
I'm not going to lie. I heard that and I completely forgot about Melissa McCarthy's cameo. So when she popped out, I had that surprise again.
I wish.
Yeah. One last thing about the Guardians, I want to just note, I think maybe Kraglin is out marrying people on every planet because he's emulating his best friend, his late best friend Yondu, because Yondu we saw goes straight to women when he's on other planets. We saw him in a brothel in Guardians Volume 2. So maybe, I don't know, I just wanted to, I felt like I caught an Easter egg, so I wanted to share it. I agree with Jamie about Sif. Why was she even in the movie? Like, either give us more Sif or don't at all. I kind of feel.
But we finally got her comic accurate costume. Like, after like a decade of her being in these movies, we finally get the most comic accurate version of her costume. I have had complicated feelings about Sif over the years, but like this kind of crystallized. I'm like, if I can see more of her in that costume, just being cool now with her one arm, I'm happy, because it was a little bit, but it still was really good what we did get.
Did she lose an arm in the comics? No, right?
I don't remember, but I don't think so.
Not that I've never read a comic where she did, and I even Googled it and I couldn't find anything. But I don't know, whatever. Well, I don't know why she lost. And that's gonna, the next thing I want to talk about is Gorr, and that leads me like that. This leads into that conversation perfectly. Like, I can't imagine there wasn't a scene where Gorr killed Thalagar and took Sif's arm, right? Like, to show us just how menacing he can be, which just feels like one of the biggest things missing from this movie was Gorr's threat level. He killed a god in the first scene of the movie, a god I didn't know about, a god who was defenseless and just got caught off guard. and he had this sword that could kill the god. I didn't know the power of that god. I didn't know what that actually meant. I just saw this kind of as legal as Marvel Studios can have its symbiote inhabit Gorr. So I think that's the only thing that really would have made Gorr better, because Christian Bale's performance as Gorr, tremendous. He was so good. But if we saw him actually butcher somebody and not just the bodies he left behind, I think it would have made something better. And I imagine the stuff that Jeff Goldblum and Peter Dinklage filmed with Christian Bale might have been the deaths of the Grandmaster and Eitri to help put that in perspective, just how powerful Gorr is. And it would have made the moments where he's standing across from Thor, Mighty Thor, and Valkyrie a little bit more tense than they already were, because it would have been like, oh, he really will just kill people. So, I mean, right, that just seems like the most obvious criticism here.
No, I completely
totally agree. Yeah.
I like myself and my boyfriend Chris have read so much of the Jason Aaron like Gorr era stuff, and like he just reread it 2 weeks ago, and so he was telling me all of these little things. He's like, I wish they could have covered this. I wish they could have covered this. This would have been so much cooler. And then I was even thinking with like the Grandmaster and Eitri stuff. I feel like the Eitri scene would have better explained the fact that he needed the Bifrost in order to enter Eternity, because otherwise that's just something that is like in that little voiceover at the very beginning, and then Jane finds it in the Shadow Realm, and it's like I feel like those scenes, like you said, could have upped his kill count. He and Thor almost have the same like, on-screen kill count for most of this movie once Thor kills Zeus, and which is kind of weird when you have a character who's the God Butcher. And so it would have been interesting to see those characters kind of killed and then still have it advance the plot at the same time. That is what's kind of the bummer about it, because he was so great. He chewed the scenery so well. I just wanted so much more of it.
Part of me kind of wonders if they got a little bit of pushback on how scary or violent Doctor Strange was, and they said, actually, let's take a few of these big deaths of characters people know out of the movie, so we can stay a little bit more kid friendly. I don't know. I have no reason to I don't have inside information. I'm not trying to start like a big kind of controversy here, but I genuinely wonder that, because Doctor Strange was scary, man, and that was what people said about Doctor Strange. The Illuminati got slaughtered, and now nobody got slaughtered. So except one god who I don't even remember his name from the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, and you wanted him to kind of get slaughtered. He was kind of an ass.
Yeah.
I think that plays into the July-ness of it, though. I totally agree, Brandon. I was like, this thing has the pacing and the tone. Like, it knows that it's sharing a theater with freaking Top Gun Maverick and Minions. Those are the big ones. And what'd you say?
Gentle Minions.
And Gentle Minions. I'm like, you can't have him going around killing Jeff Goldblum. That's a no-no. We all love Jeff Goldblum. That's not cool. So I thought about that too. I'm like, I get that he is scary. He is terrifying. If you've seen the Aphex Twin video that he based his portrayal on, good job, Christian Bale. Also, I do not want your internet search history. I do not want that.
The Joker vibes.
Yeah,
in that one, like he was menacing, and he had like that kind of cadence and like terrorizing like presence, but it would have been scarier and more tense if we saw what he's capable of. Instead, we just saw that he can hold Thor down with his Doc Ock shadow legs, and then when Thor really needs to, he can just go like that, and he's out of him. Thor can break out of anything, even if he's naked.
Did love when Gorr popped into that kid cage and was like,
right, exactly.
I'm here and I'm scary. I was like, oh, okay. One thing I really loved about Bale's performance is I'm going to say this and I'm going to get shit for it, but like, I've never been a big Christian Bale fan. I think he's an amazing actor, but he's like too serious for me. He's tightly wound. And this was the first time he felt a little more loosey goosey to me. And I was enjoying it very much. It might be like my favorite Bale ever.
So Jamie, we got two people who are usually pretty tightly wound, like kind of cutting loose. Because him and Russell Crowe, I'm like, this is the silliest the two of them will ever be on film ever.
The fact that he did the Greek accent and like it was so fun. I just like, oh man, I enjoyed him very, very much.
The reveal of the skirt is just so great, and then like him. I need the clip of him doing all of the tricks with the Thunderbolt and then catching it and then just being like, no, I need that to be like the new reaction video, like once it's streaming. Because that also had big like Mall Ninja vibes of just like you were just showing off just for the sake of just showing off. And it is just so good. He had so much fun and it is just infectious to watch.
That is not good. Go ahead and come out, baby cake. Have a wine. Have a grape. Like,
I just remembered something that I'm really mad about, and we need to discuss it right now. When did Valkyrie lick that sword? Never. How dare?
Oh wow.
How
Wow.
dare you show me that in the
no.
trailer and not put it in the movie? I
that
was
is
This is-
enough to tell a
mad.
ticket. That
This
is
is
enough.
precisely why I wanted to talk to Jamie about this movie, because I saw that and saw it was not there, and I'm like, we are going to mourn the loss of that shot, because that was a letdown on a larger level too. I kept thinking back to San Diego 2019 when they're like, Valkyrie's searching for a queen to rule alongside her in New Asgard. Nowhere in the movie. I want to know
like-
what happened.
I
Yeah.
like give me something like I enjoyed that Gorr got a boyfriend, but it's like
I
it was more
know.
a joke than anything. Where it was like I really thought we were gonna get a little Valkyrie romance. Let me
Yeah.
tell you also, side note, her fighting in that Phantom of the Opera t-shirt
Yes.
I was knocked out of my socks. I want that whole outfit. Oh my
Yep.
god. But like, yeah, I like at least it was like Gorr mentions that she had a girlfriend. I don't know, but like, yeah, I really thought we were gonna get some kind of Valkyrie romance. I mean, it's all in the title. I lots of love, lots of thunder, and but even still, she was awesome. I love that she's like doing Old Spice commercials. But I'm really mad she didn't lick that sword, and I need a word with Taika.
I feel like there's a 4-hour cut of this movie somewhere.
like,
A
Oh.
If
1000%.
you interview Taika, that's the first question. Why didn't Valkyrie lick the sword in the movie?
I feel like Taika has just reached the point in interviews where he's just like, I don't know, man. Marvel did
Yeah.
it. I did my
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Like-
thing, is that like I feel like so much of this movie was made in the edit bay, and it's like I do have to wonder with like Valkyrie's arc. Like I know there have been the reports of like Lena Headey was supposed to be in this movie and then was cut, is now getting sued for that, which is the weirdest thing ever. I almost wonder if she was going to be another Valkyrie, and then we would have gotten flashbacks to that, and that would have like
Oh.
better strengthened Valkyrie's arc. And then, because like honestly, like the party I was with last night, we all had a conspiracy theory that she was supposed to be in the like last post credit scene, and then got cut because she wasn't in this movie to begin with. Because the cutting in that post credit scene when Jane shows up in Valhalla is very weird if you watch it back. But yeah, I wanted Val to have an actual storyline, and I'm mourning the fact that we didn't get that. But what we got was so good from her. But yeah, I feel like so much of this movie was made in the edit bay, and might have been also made around like, what could we finish the visual effects for in time? Like that would not
There
have
you go.
surprised me at all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Marvel has spread themselves a little thin, maybe with 100 episodes of Disney Plus a week,
Yeah.
and 22 movies a year. But we're eating. All right, one thing I want to talk about Gorr real quick, and we got to keep moving quickly because we don't have too much time before we got to hand the studio over to Comic Book Nation. The Necro Sword in the comics is a symbiote. It's like the first symbiote. And I do feel like maybe they played it fast and loose enough, just enough, so that if they make a deal, Sony comes around, it could actually be a symbiote, because the way it infected him, like he cut his hand on it, it flowed through his body. Like there could be something there where this is a symbiote. I'm just saying, we know there's a symbiote in the MCU after Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe there's something there. Just they played it just loose enough and didn't define it too much so that they couldn't say that it's. They didn't say it's not a symbiote. They just didn't say that it is, right?
Mm-hmm. I feel
told
like
you.
the Venom movies are going to eventually get to null. I feel like that's an inevitability, because that is just too absurd to not do in Sony's Venom movies. And so if like you said, they eventually strike a deal with Marvel and it all gets folded in, then the Necro Sword can technically work for both. So.
And truly, this is all just because we want Morbius in the MCU, right?
Exactly.
We are moving. All right, Eternity is the last thing I want to discuss real quick about the characters and kind of the plot there. Jenna, I want to give you an opportunity to discuss Eternity, because I could do my best, but you're very good at articulating comic stuff. Not Eternity in this movie. I'll just go ahead.
This was one of the biggest surprises for me. I'm very curious to see how long it's going to take for that character design to show in like a TV spot, because I feel like seeing that character in the movie is such a big oh crap kind of moment. I hope that they don't blow that at any point. But yeah, Eternity is very much what they explained to him to be in the movie. He is literally the manifestation of time and space and eternity itself, and then has a sister who is named Infinity and is kind of like the dyad of himself. And so yeah, he is just one of the biggest possible cosmic space beings that you could have at the center of the Marvel universe. So now that he's here, that is interesting in and of itself.
I am so happy they made him look like he looks in the comics. Like
Mhm.
they pulled that off and it looks dope. But he's a wishing well. He's just He's a full form Infinity Gauntlet without the consequences, and you only get to snap it once. Well, I guess you only get to snap the Infinity Gauntlet once, and then you have a funeral. I don't know. All right. So now we got to talk about the post-credit scene.
Yes.
Let's start on the second one first, which was Jane arriving in Valhalla. And okay, first of all, it was cool to see Heimdall. I think people who don't know the comics might be like, oh, they're just like giving her a happy ending, right? But really, that kind of signifies this is not necessarily an ending at all. Because in the comics, she gets to the gates of Valhalla. Thor says, yo, I don't want Jane to die. So he brings her back to life. Spoiler alert, that's what happens in the comics. I kind of want to see that happen, even as frustrated as I am about all the fake out death. I'm not going to lie. I'm just saying. Everybody?
I will say I was really upset when Jane died because for a couple reasons. First of all, kind of like my Spider-Man 2 problem where it's a whole movie where Peter Parker is struggling with money. I just don't want to watch my Marvel characters die of cancer. It's so too much. It's too real. I don't want that form of reality. It hurts. It's hard to watch. But then so seeing her in Valhalla was like, oh, okay. Her and Thor will be together again one day. There's Valhalla's real, and that helped me. And whether or not we ever see them again, it gives me some kind of hope, and I will take that because I was like, man, Thor has lost everyone. This poor man. I did not think Jane was going to die solely because how could they put this man through another loss? Oh my gosh. But this is both post-credit scenes. This is one of my favorite post-credit scenes movie ever, and maybe of all time, because it feels very early phases where they're very much focused on this character and this Thor's future, the future of this world, and both were impactful. When we talk about the first one, you guys, I lost my friggin' mind when I saw Brett Goldstein. But anyway, that's my feelings on the Valhalla. And it was nice to see Idris. Hey, buddy, what's up? I didn't know you had a son. Who knew?
He probably just can't stay away from these movies. The only thing that could have even made that scene better is if like Loki was there.
Yeah.
But, I miss Loki. A Thor movie without Loki, you feel it.
You do feel it. You do feel it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like that scene is kind of implying that they might do the comic book story of her being revived. That said, it also might it was vague enough where they might not. So they could do whatever. But imagine being Jane and settling into Valhalla and be like, oh my God, this is heaven. This is amazing. I just want to stay here forever. And I will. And then Thor's like, come back.
That's some Buffy season 6 stuff right there.
Oh my God. Yeah, Thor has lost too much. Thor has lost way too much. And I agree with you. It's like, dude, he lost his mom, his dad, this guy, that guy, whoever remembers like everything on the planet. And now he lost Jane. But that little girl better watch out because everybody in Thor's life
she's like a walking wishing well now too, right?
She's kind of got like Homelander eyes.
Homelander eyes. Sure.
I just why the boys finale's out there now. It's on the brain.
Yeah.
Can she grant things?
It's so undefined that she's like, they said she had Eternity's power. So I'm like, are they going to have to protect this girl now because she's far too important to go be lost into anything? I mean, it's worse than playing keep away with the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like it's
she did give me the vibes of Singularity, who is like a young girl who's introduced in the A-Force comics, which I'm like, I know we've talked about A-Force since like Endgame when the whole A-Force moment happened. If that movie ends up being Thor gives the child over to all of her aunts and it's like, oh, here's all the female superheroes and you get to hang out for like 2 hours, I would be totally on board with that if that ended up happening.
And by the way, that little girl is played by Chris Hemsworth's daughter, Tristan Hemsworth. So that's a fun little fact. Yeah, they actually had a lot of their family members in the movie somewhere. I'm going to pull that up in a second.
His son was young Thor when he was running across in the beginning.
And I know Bale's kids were in there somewhere too.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like a COVID thing where it's like, what? We want to have as few people on set. We all want to spend time with our families. Like, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
Here, I'm pulling up. Okay, so Luke Hemsworth, Matt Damon, Sam Neill, Melissa McCarthy, Ben Falcone. So Melissa's husband was standing beside her. I think he was the director of the play.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Yeah, I'll keep looking through this in a second. I don't want to waste too much time on it.
Well, so can we talk about Hercules while you're
Let's-
scrolling? Because
yeah.
Jamie's thoughts.
Who might be producer Brad Winderbaum's family
Oh,
as chick
okay.
tourists. But yeah, I think it's cool they did that. They all talked about how they did bring their families into the movie and that kind of stuff. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Hercules. I want to hear what Jamie's thoughts were on Hercules.
Okay, I just want to shout out to Charlie, our coworker, who a while back was like, Jamie, mute every single thing about Thor because there's a surprise that you're gonna want to be surprised. And Tony apparently also knew, so he was like looking at me like this, like, and because I love Brett Goldstein because like every other human being on this earth, I love Ted Lasso and I love Roy Kent. He's here. He's there.
He's there. He's there. He's in the end too.
I mean, that man is just like, and
Beautiful.
the casting him as Hercules, holy moly, I never would have thought of it in a million years. And my friend Jake was here, I was here, and we both went, like it's the most excited I've ever been in a reveal, and just the fact that we're getting Hercules, but that was kind of like we suspected. I just did not see that casting coming, and it was beautiful and perfect, and I cannot wait to see more of that. Please, please, please.
The costume was brilliant. The physique was brilliant. The casting was brilliant. I just can't wait to watch Hercules give us some good Roy Kent grunts, like all the time. But I feel like it's going to start. Go ahead.
I am like one of the 10 people on earth who has not started Ted Lasso yet. Like that might change now after seeing this movie. But I, as a She-Hulk fan, she and Hercules are very much tied together. They have hooked up many times over the years. She has represented him in court many times over the years. So I'm like, if we get any inkling of that, I need to see the two of them in the same room because I feel like it will just the internet will explode in the best possible way. I know. I just broke Jamie, and I'm so excited.
Oh my god. I don't know.
Just to talk about the future, because I love having conversations and speculating. Like, I don't think Thor and Hercules are actually going to be enemies. Like they have teamed up in the comics. I think that's what's coming. I think Hercules has been abandoned by his parents, and like he's going to be like an illegitimate son or something like that, and end up kind of rebelling against Zeus because Zeus is just not a good guy, as we saw in this movie. Another one of the fake deaths. And I think they're going to end up teaming up, and maybe they'll end up taking down Zeus and whatever Zeus can throw at them. So that to me is my Thor 5 prediction. And I think Thor 5 is inevitable because it said Thor will return at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat there and I was like, how does Thor 5 end with Ares ending up being the bad guy and then being in Thunderbolts was immediately where my brain went. I was like, there's a lot of Secret Invasion and Thunderbolt stuff just seeded into the background under the guise of, oh yes, here's your Thor, but also here's this other management we need to do. We need to get that in order for this other stuff. Also, so many children that even more children added to the fray where I'm like, how many people are going to be in this Young Avengers thing? Like, is Axel going to be in there? Like, I'm so confused. Or is Love going to be in there? Because she'd be like a heavy for them. It's like, oh, the rest of you have very, like, normal power sets. Oh, that's a suit of armor. That's cool. Stormbreaker.
I really love that kid army. It was really cute.
It was really cute.
Funny.
Yeah.
Team Kids in a Cage.
Oh, my God. The Kid Army fight, to me, was so much better than the music fight in Doctor Strange.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
I like the team more.
Okay.
I wouldn't even thought to compare them, but that's
here.
it.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably my second favorite third act of Phase 4. The only other one being better was Spider-Man.
I half expected you to say Shang-Chi.
I love Shang-Chi. The third act is my least favorite part. I thought once Wenwu died and it became like a big crazy dragon fight where Katie could suddenly shoot a bow and arrow hundreds of yards through a perfect mark. I was like, okay, well, this movie's not perfect, but Shang-Chi's still my favorite of Phase 4 overall.
We got one without a cone of light. Hooray.
Yeah.
All right, a couple Easter eggs I want to throw out here before we wrap up. The Infinity Cones, obviously, Infinity Gauntlet reference. We saw a lot of gods in Omnipotent City, including dragon gods like the dragon from Shang-Chi in golden form. And we also saw possible McLuhan in the back wearing possible rings on its finger. Like that might actually be a major tie to Shang-Chi, which also just tied itself to Ms. Marvel. So I think they're really seeding that part of the MCU into the future of the MCU. We saw in the statues at the center of the universe, I'm pretty sure we had a Red Skull statue in there. Like if you were looking towards eternity, it was the last one on the right. And then we had also the Watcher had a statue in there. A Celestial and the Living Tribunal. There were two more. One looked like possibly like a Thor helmet on somebody, and another one looked like a big Viking. If those are obvious and I'm just missing who they were, I'm sorry. Do you got any idea who those two were?
No.
Because I would identify 4 out of the 6.
The Celestial is Arishem.
Is that Arishem?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. I have the Kraglin possibly being a Yondu reference in here. And other gods that we heard referenced were Tumatuanga, who's a Polynesian god of war. In Akua, Tumatuanga has been. All these gods that I'm about to name have been in Marvel Comics. Quetzalcoatl, super strong Aztec god. Ra, the god of the sun. Ra, actually, we thought like was going to be tied to Sun King, and Sun King we thought we just saw in Moon Knight with Arthur Harrow, but maybe not, or maybe yes. I don't know. Ethan Hawke says that Arthur Harrow's not dead, but then Jeremy Slater says I wrote Ethan Hawke as dead. So who knows? You don't see a body, they're not dead. Even when you do see a body, sometimes they're still not dead. And Hercules, the son of Zeus, was obviously mentioned. And I think Korg mentioned somebody when they talked about going to Omnipotent City, and Thor was like, maybe we'll see them, but I didn't catch who it was. But
it
those
was
are
the
all
Throne and God, because then we did see him because he was on like a throne of scissors, because it was like a rock paper scissors joke.
okay.
But,
All right.
Oh, I was like, thank you, because I'm like, what's with those scissors?
I didn't get it at first, and someone in my showing last night was literally like, haha, rock, paper, scissors, and I was like, oh my god, thank you. Because I did not notice. I do have to say, I want to bring up the Infinity Stones thing. It feels very weird to have the people of New Asgard be making franchise merchandise sort of stuff, because even like, Axel has a poster in his room that's for like Mad Titan, and it's like a skull with like purple Thanos stuff and like a big chin. It feels weird to me that the Asgardians would have merch and stores and stuff based on the person who like blew up their planet and slaughtered half their people, and like he literally killed Heimdall, and then his kid has a poster for him in his room. I'm like, that just feels kind of weird to me. I don't know.
Teenagers are
Infinity
weird.
Cones
Yeah.
is like I don't know. I agree. I do love the idea that it's a tourist town.
Yeah.
That's very funny to me. But I agree that like why are we in the Infinity Cones and stuff? It's like all that was really bad for Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of resilience to just look past bad stuff, and then everybody came back too, which made everybody be like, "Oh well, if anything bad happens, giant celestial in the sky, who cares? Like, where's my pizza? Like, no one gives a crap. These people must be so well adjusted beyond reason. So many bad things have happened in the last. Like, there's an entire earthquake off the coast or wherever that they just ignored. Like, that must have caused tsunamis. Like, oh, who cares? I don't know.
Ignored for now for another 4 months, hopefully.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like the box office previews just came in for Thor 2, and it's the people like the Thor.
How much
Right.
on Thursday night?
29 million here in America, to add to like 17 overseas yesterday. So it's the second best opening since the pandemic started. So I'm like, oh wow. The reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, not real life, everybody. Apparently.
Like, there's no way this movie's opening in some of the markets that ban LGBTQ stuff, right? Like there's
I was thinking about that though, because I feel like the Korg and Valkyrie stuff can easily be interpreted as just like friends. Like every time they say girlfriend, you could probably like put that through a translator and have it say like friend or sister or something like that. So I feel like they kind of skirted past it. I don't know what you
I have a question about Korg. Do you think that Korg species is just men?
Yes.
Because he was talking about because he's talking about his dads and then he met a men and like, you know, it could be lady Korgs, but I was under the impression, and I enjoy that it's but so yeah, they're all dudes.
That was my read of it.
Dudes rock.
But I mean, like movies like Doctor Strange didn't get released in some markets. Lightyear didn't get released in some markets, and this movie had more than those did. But I mean, the fact that I don't know, that's a whole different conversation. Release this movie everywhere. Suck it up. It's good stuff. Like anyway, okay. So anything else we want to talk about on Thor: Love and Thunder before we wrap up?
I'd like to say one thing, and it's shout out to Taika for setting the history romance Thor and Jane montage to ABBA. That really made me happy because I deeply, deeply love ABBA, and I really enjoyed watching their little, just them being a couple, because you really have never seen that. And I liked that montage a lot, but most importantly, I liked it because it was set to ABBA.
All right, Aaron, any parting words for today's Thor: Love and Thunder bonus episode number 11?
I enjoyed it a lot, but I will be thinking about why exactly Nick Fury's name is spelled wrong in Thor's phone forever, and also how long has Thor had a phone. I have a lot of questions. Do you get reception in space? All sorts of things.
Nick Fury. Jenna?
I'm happy that people are enjoying this movie after on Wednesday it made it seem like I hated this movie and didn't want anyone to have any fun. I'm glad that people are thoroughly enjoying it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it too. And I loved having our discussion because this was just so much fun.
I love it, guys. Well, our next movie discussion is going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever in just about 4 months from now. And we will have a Miss Marvel full season episode available this Wednesday. We might just have a special guest, so you're not going to want to miss that one. That's this Wednesday. Thank you so much for everybody for joining our Thor: Love and Thunder spoiler cast. If you want to talk more, join the Phase Zero community on Twitter or just hit us up at Jamie Cinematics, at Hey It's Jenna Lynn, at Summit Lake Hornet, at Brandon Davis BD. We would love to talk to you anytime. We are basically just Marvel customer service, and somehow we get paid to do that by comicbook.com, the wonderful website, which is a Paramount subsidiary. I don't know. I felt like I had to say that for some reason. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And let us know. I really look forward to hearing what everybody else thought of Thor: Love and Thunder. And just be nice to each other. If you like the movie, if you didn't like the movie, just let people have opinions, and they're all valid. They're all fair. All right. We'll see you on Wednesday for Miss Marvel season finale. Later.